I'm going to talk about the wisdom of doing one thing at a time. Remember, sometimes you feel like you got so many things to do, and you feel like, oh, which one should I do? And which one? I got so many things to think about, worry about, and to do. You feel overwhelmed, right? Can you give that to your sister, Leah? So, Leah, you nod your head. Can you share about what that's like when those things happen to you?
Like you feel overwhelmed because like you're confused and you're having a hard time to pick.
That's right. Exactement, madame. I should say, mademoiselle. Yeah. Sometimes we get really, really overwhelmed when we got too many things to do. Come on. Wow. Today it's like a Heinz ketchup. When it pours, it pours. Come. Join us. Now tell me your name.
Eloise.
Alonis?
Eloise.
Eloise. Good to see you. And how old are you?
8.
6 years old. And 8 years old. I'm sorry. And what is your name?
Micah.
Oh, Micah. And how old are you?
5.
5. Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to tell you a story from Zen Buddhism. It's a teaching story. And the story goes, let's look at the first picture. So, Zen means meditation. That's what it means, Zen. Um, there was once a young man, and he wanted to be enlightened. Can you all say it? Enlightened. Enlightened means suddenly you're awake and able to see the reality as it is. Before, you weren't able to see the reality. So when you're enlightened, you're able to see the world as is. And by seeing the reality, you are no longer engaged in foolish things because you now know the truth and reality. And then I remember when Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So we follow Jesus because by following Jesus, Jesus teaches us that leads to the truth, to reality. And out of that reality that we come to realize, we are able to have life, true life. So something like that. So this young man wanted to know the truth and wanted to know what reality is all about. So he wanted to become enlightened. So he heard about this Buddhist monastery because there was no Christianity at that time. This is an ancient time in Japan. So he traveled afar and went to this monastery in the mountain. So he greeted the monk who greeted him. He says, "Welcome. What brings you here?" He says, "I have come to see your master." The head of the Buddhist monastery. So monastery is where there's all female monasteries and all male monasteries. And this happens to be all male monasteries. And so he says, may I see your master? I have something that I wanted to ask him. So, next picture. He greets the master of the monastery. He means the head Zen teacher. So he goes and he says, "Master, I have come to receive enlightenment, to learn about enlightenment, what must I do? So he says, good, you came to the right place. My student will instruct you what your daily tasks will be. So next picture. He says, yeah, you get up in the morning, you sweep the ground. So he sweeps the ground. And then next. And then after that, you polish the floor. And so he does that. Next. And then next morning you get up, chop some woods. And he's chopping wood. Next. And then go to the nearest river and draw water to the monastery. So he goes and he gets water and bring them to the monastery. Next. And then you cook rice. And so he cooks rice. And then after you cook rice, he says, you eat rice. And so that's what he does. Every day, that's all he did. Menial tasks. You know, washing dishes, cooking rice, and drawing water, chopping wood, and sweeping the ground, and polishing the floor. And the whole year went by. And he was getting angry and impatient. I didn't come here to do a slave, servant work here like this. They're just using me. No pay. And so he said, he went to Roshi. The Roshi is a Japanese word for teacher, the master. So he went to make a complaint. So he says, Master, I've been here for the whole year. All I did was doing menial tasks of everyday chores. And I feel like I'm wasting my time in this place. Because I came here to be enlightened. And what is this? And the Roshi smiled. And he says, when you chop wood, chop wood. When you draw water, draw water. When you sweep the ground, sweep the ground. When you polish the floor, polish the floor. When you cook rice, you cook rice. When you eat, you eat. When you wash dishes, you wash dishes. And when you sleep, you sleep. And you will be enlightened. You are well on your way to becoming enlightened. So that's the story. Now, what do you make of this story? Do any of you make some sense out of this? Okay. Ethan? No? Leah? No? Okay. None of you could make a sense out of it, huh? Well, there's a really deep meaning in this, but I'm going to tell you one thing that you could take away. When you do one thing, don't let your mind scattered with so many other things. Take one thing and give your full focused attention and do it with earnest effort. And then when that's accomplished, then you do the next thing and the next thing with that focused attention for each task. And guess what? When you do that, you don't go crazy. You don't get overwhelmed. Because, we say something like, oh, I got so many things to do, I don't know where to start. And they will say, why don't you just chip it away? Chip it away little at a time, and before you know it, the big block of tasks becomes very small. Something like that. So remember that. When you are overwhelmed, think, What's the most important thing that I need to do now that is due tomorrow? The other one is not due till next week. So see what's urgent tasks at hand and just focus on that. Don't worry about other things. Just focus on one thing. And when you do that, you will do a good job. And you will enjoy much more what you're doing. Trust me. All right? So remember that. Do one thing well at a time. Can we all say that? Do one thing well at a time. All right. Remember that when you go out into the world, have so many things to do. Just do one thing at a time.
The Hebrew reading is taken from Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 10. Wherever your hands finds to do, do it with your might. Please stand for the gospel reading taken from Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. Now as they went on their way, he entered a certain village, where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister named Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to what he was saying. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks, so she came to him and asked, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her then to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is need for only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her. The word of God for the people of God.
So the story that we heard in children's time about chopping wood and washing dishes and so forth, this is a classic Zen Buddhist story that they use to teach the principle of enlightenment in everyday life. In Zen Buddhism, monks perform menial tasks as a form of meditation known as samu, or work practice. Interestingly, also, if you go to Christian monasteries, all Christian monks are to engage in menial tasks: sweeping the floor, washing dishes, cooking food, cleaning, gardening. They do that every day. So in Zen Buddhist teaching of this story is summarized in the phrase, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. It reflects the Zen emphasis on ordinary daily activities as the path to awakening. Before enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water because you have to, perhaps with boredom, resistance, or seeing them as unwanted chores to get through as quickly and efficiently as possible. After enlightenment, you still chop wood and carry water, but with full awareness, presence, and delight. The ordinary becomes sacred because your mind has awakened to reality as it is. So in Zen Buddhism, performing menial tasks is seen as a form of meditation, and it serves three purposes. One, humility and ego training. Menial work reminds monks that no task is beneath them. It helps dissolve pride and ego, which are obstacles to enlightenment. Even if someone is highly learned, respected, and has a high status in the community, doing basic chores teaches that your worth is no greater than those who are deemed less by the society. I was watching Mahatma Gandhi's documentary, and Mahatma Gandhi was cleaning toilets. It's not nice, clean toilets that you have at home. Back in those days in India, it was basically an outhouse. And it's smelly and it's dirty, but he was cleaning them. And he asked his wife to do the same, but she refused. Says, this is unclean work, which is relegated to the untouchables, the lowest rung of the caste system in Hinduism. So only the untouchable people do those menial tasks. And she thought it was beyond her dignity to stoop to that. And so they had marital squabbles over that. Jesus washing disciples' feet, we have that icon to perennially remind us. Because Jesus washing disciples' feet came out of disciples fighting over. You know, when Jesus comes into his kingdom, I want to be a general. I want to be his vice president. I want to be the secretary of state and so forth. And they were squabbling for power and status. And Jesus said, hey guys, you guys don't get it. No matter how much I try to teach you what God's kingdom is, you don't get it. If you want to be great in God's kingdom, he says, and then watch me. And he put the towel around his waist. And can we see the next picture? Jesus stooped down and washed disciples' feet, starting with Peter. And he says, if you want to be great in God's kingdom, be a servant of all. Because in this kingdom of Caesar in which we live, people are great when you're able to lord it over others with your power, like that we see today, as it always has been. But he says, I tell you, in God's kingdom, first shall be last and last shall be first. Everything is turned upside down. And in God's kingdom, it is service in love that you are greatest. By the way, this is a painting from the 19th century British painter Ford Madox Brown. Second thing that this story teaches is mindfulness in action. Every simple action, sweeping, scrubbing, carrying water, becomes a chance to practice mindfulness. The focus is not just on getting it done, but on being fully present with each activity. There was this a story of a tourist who was at Kyoto, Japan. And it was a beautiful Kyoto Buddhist temple. It was the height of Buddhist culture when all those things were built. And a huge, Buddha statue. And then saw these Buddhist Zen monks in single row, walking. And they walked a long way with, rice cakes and water carried on their back. And they walked all day to get there. And so he was, quite fascinated by these Zen monks who came with the hat, straw hat, and they sat. They ate rice, drank water, they ate rice, drank water, and then they packed everything, and then they turned and they left. I said, they should spend some time. I mean, they worked really hard to get here, and they're just leaving. And what he learned is the point was not getting to the destination. The goal was the journey itself. Being present in every step you take. It's the journey. Journey is the goal, not the arrival or destination. It's a whole new way of looking at things. And finally, the third purpose is to serve the community. They call it Sangha. Sangha is a Japanese word for community. Menial tasks are acts of service. Keeping the monastery clean and orderly serves the community, reinforces interdependence, and overrides hyper-individualism that we Americans worship. So when monks perform such menial tasks, they are training the mind to be in the present moment, cultivating humility, and turning even the smallest act into a form of service. So the point is that the enlightenment is not about escaping life or achieving something extraordinary. Rather, it is about a profound shift in awareness in the ordinary, mundane, everyday existence. Such practice is to change your entire perspective, to challenge you to go beyond preoccupation of self in order to live from a place of surrender to the flow of life. Enlightenment is living fully in the present moment. The late Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away a few years ago, said, "Your appointment with life is in the present moment, not in the past, nor in the future, but in the present moment is where life happens." And seeing that every simple act, chopping wood, cooking rice, drawing water, is complete in itself when done mindfully. So there's this story about a Zen school in upstate New York. This is a true story. And Roshi was teaching them how to live by this principle of being fully present with everything that you do. So when you do, just focus on that and don't do multitasking. I know that today's kids are able to, they can't just watch the show. They have to have their smartphone and laptop, something. They're doing multi-thing. And it's amazing to me. But, research has shown that all we're doing is switching from one attention and then switching to another attention and then switching to another. And we do that constantly. So anyway, so all the students in this Zen school is trying to practice mindfulness of focusing on one thing at a time. And then one morning, a student witnessed the master sitting down and eating breakfast and reading New York Times newspaper. So the student was dismayed. He was disappointed. He is not teaching, he's not living what he's teaching us. So it just bugged him all day. So finally, he went and confronted the teacher. He says, "Teacher, you taught us to do one thing at a time, and here you are, eating breakfast and reading newspaper. And I am quite dismayed." And the teacher said to the student, when you eat and read, just eat and read. I love that story. Yeah, don't become a fundamentalist. just be reasonable about it. And Jesus touches upon this in the story of trust in the divine providence of God, where Jesus says, do not worry about tomorrow, right? He says, why you fret and worry about all the things? Look at the birds of the air. They don't worry, but they're taken care of. Why do you worry and fret about what to wear and spend so much time? The lilies of the field has more beautifully clothed than anything the wealthiest, richest King Solomon's wardrobe ever he wore. He says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's trouble is enough for today. Something to reflect. Something to reflect. Which I quoted Mark Twain's, my favorite Mark Twain's quote. He says, I lived a long, difficult, and miserable life in which most of them never happened. So the things that we worry about, 90% never happens. But it preoccupies our present life, worrying about it and taking away the joy of this present moment. So Zen's story is a metaphor about going about doing chores every day and being fully present in each moment. Ellison read from Ecclesiastes, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Do it with your might. It encourages wholehearted, focused effort on the task at hand. Even Jesus in his ministry, he always focused on one person, one conversation, one miracle at a time. Even when crowds pressed in, he didn't go, heal. In fact, all you heal, he didn't do that. He focused on one person at a time. When Jesus visited Martha and Mary, Martha was very, very distracted with many things, it says. And so so in those days, women were expected to be in the kitchen when the guests arrive, and they are to prepare food to serve. But in this case, Mary, the younger sister, does something that women are not supposed to do. And she violates the cultural expectation of women. She violates that code, and she sits next to Jesus to learn from the teacher. And women were forbidden to learn Torah. Only men in those ancient times. But she violates all that. And she sits next to Jesus as Jesus is teaching God's words. But Jesus doesn't say, Mary, don't you have a better thing to do than sit here? I think your sister needs your hands. Jesus didn't do that. So Martha is furious at her sister. And she's huffing and puffing and clanging and making noise to get attention of her sister. But Mary is totally oblivious of anything because she's so focused on what Jesus is doing, what Jesus is teaching. So finally, out of exasperation, she comes storming out, stomping, says, Teacher, Jesus, tell my sister, come and help me. I am left all by myself to do all these tasks. And Jesus smiles at Martha and says, Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her. When I hear that story, it reminds me of the late Leo Buscaglia. Those of you might have heard of his name. He's often called Dr. Love. He was an American author and a professor at USC. And he had a class called Love 1A. Love 1A. And it was always filled. And so they had to give him a bigger class, a big auditorium, because normal size won't fit all the students clamoring to get into his class. And he wrote a breakout book, Love, titled simply Love, in 1972, which became an instant bestseller. And you might have seen him giving talks at PBS. How many of you seen his talk, Leo Buscaglia? Yeah. Anyway, he's telling a story where he had a woman who lived in Chicago and wrote fan letters to him over the years and says, please, if you ever happen to come to Chicago to give your have a speaking engagement, please stop by. I mean, it would make me so happy if I could see you in person. So he remembered that. And so when he was in Chicago giving a talk, he got a taxi and knew her address and told her that he was coming and went to see her. But, he had a flight that is waiting and he needed to go to the Chicago O'Hare Airport. Did I get it right? O'Hare. Okay. So anyway, he said that he sat down and she was busy like Martha. She baked, muffins and cookies, and she says, "Can I get you this? Can I make you a tea?" And Leo was telling her, "No, I don't need any of this. I just wanna sit down with you and have a conversation." "Oh, you have to eat this. You have to eat that." Anyway, he only had short amount of time, and by the time she was busy with all those things, she says, I have to catch this plane, and I don't have time left, but your muffin was delicious. Thank you. Hugged her and left, and he said it was so sad that she was fussy with things when one thing that was most important, to sit down eyeball to eyeball, holding hands and having a meaningful, intimate conversation. As a pastor in charge, sometimes I get like too many things on my plate, what to do. Not just within congregation, but also the wider community. As a spiritual leader of the community and my own personal life, it's like, I gotta do, this all these things, and I could get overwhelmed. And then then what I do is just slow things down and become quiet, and then write down all the list. What's the most urgent and important thing? I put that on the top. And then I just do one thing at a time. And when I finish one thing, I take a pause. And I might stretch, I might lie down, and then refresh my head again, and then do the second thing. And then when it's done, I reward myself. Go and have something to drink, take a little walk, and then come back and do another thing. And I noticed that when I do that, I am not overwhelmed. And the quality of my work is raised. I do a better work. And then I enjoy what I'm doing. And the added benefit is you get to savor life. As the Wisconsin icon lady told me, we all just need to slow down quiet ourselves and work in the garden. Touch grass, grab soil in your hand, and smell the roses, so to speak. Well, I hope this message will serve you well as well. Thank you. This is your life. This is God's gift to you. Live well and be present in this moment, each moment, every day as you go forward. And get the most out of it that you have an opportunity to enjoy, to receive, and to wander in awe. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the extravagant love of our God, the comfort, wisdom, power, abide in you and walk beside you now and evermore. Amen.